The sun had just begun to rise when Lucas Whitmore exited his black SUV and entered the marble-floored lobby of Whitmore Industries, a billion-dollar construction and design empire he built from nothing, with relentless determination and sheer willpower. His face was sharp with concentration, his suit flawlessly tailored, and his eyes carried the weight of yet another sleepless night. But what he didn't realize was that this day, unlike any other, would alter everything. Lucas lived by routine, black coffee, a quick review of blueprints, meetings with department heads. That morning, however, something disrupted his rhythm. Something gentle, something small. A girl, around 8 or 9 years old, stood in front of him. She clutched a well-loved teddy bear in one hand, a pink backpack in the other, and wore shoes clearly too big for her feet. Lucas froze. She stood at the entrance of the executive hallway alone. "Sweetheart," he said softly, "are you lost?" The little girl looked up at him. Her large brown eyes were wide, alert, cautious. She stepped forward slowly, speaking barely above a whisper. "There's a camera in your office." Then, without another word, she turned and walked away. Lucas stood motionless, stunned. "Wait," he called after her. But she vanished down the corridor. Security was already on high alert, scrambling to figure out how she had gotten inside. No one knew. No one saw her arrive. No one could identify who she was. By 10 o'clock that morning, Lucas sat in his office, staring first at the ceiling, then at the corners of the room. He knew every inch of the space. Every detail had been designed by him personally. If there was a camera, it had to be new. He summoned his head of security. "Sweep my office, now, top to bottom." Within 2 hours, they found it. A tiny, nearly invisible camera embedded into the frame of the painting behind his desk, streaming live footage to an off-site server cleverly disguised within normal traffic. Lucas felt the color drain from his face. Someone had been watching him, listening in, every phone call, every conversation. For how long? And more importantly, why? He trusted everyone around him. His board of directors, his assistant of 10 years, his managers, his operations team. Some had worked beside him since the company's earliest days. A knot formed in his stomach. He ordered a full internal investigation. Files were retrieved, laptops scanned, office cameras reviewed, including the ones employees didn't even know existed. The hidden backups only he and the cyber team had access to. That night, Lucas didn't go home. He stayed in his office watching footage, hours and hours of it. He watched people he had trusted copy confidential files onto USB drives. He saw employees mock him behind closed doors. He heard them plotting to sell prototype designs to rival firms. He witnessed envelopes filled with cash exchanging hands. He saw betrayal over and over again. And then he saw her, the little girl, sitting in a break room with Sophia, the janitor. The woman no one ever noticed. She cleaned, swept, took out the trash, and no one even knew her name. Her name was Leia, but that little girl, she had called her mom. Lucas stared. The next morning at precisely 9 a.m., he entered the boardroom where his executive team was waiting, calm, cold, expressionless. "I know," he said simply. Their faces froze. One by one, he began reading off names, dates, transactions, showing stills from the video evidence. They squirmed, denied, panicked, but it was pointless. The proof was undeniable. By noon, half the office was empty. Over 20 people were gone, including his assistant, his vice president, even the head of security. News spread like wildfire. Whispers filled the halls. No one knew the full story, but Lucas did. At 3 p.m., he walked down to the service hallway where janitorial supplies were stored. He knocked gently. Sophia opened the door. Tears welled in her eyes as she recognized him. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "My daughter didn't mean to cause any trouble." Lucas raised a hand, stopping her. "What your daughter did," he said softly, "saved my company." She stood speechless. He knelt down, looking at the little girl peeking out from behind her mother's legs. "You were right," he whispered. "Thank you." The girl smiled shyly. Lucas stood and turned to Sophia. "You never told anyone what you saw. You could have sold that information, taken money, but you didn't." "I just wanted to keep my job," she said quietly. "We live in a shelter. I can't afford to lose it." Lucas glanced around the dim, forgotten hallway where she worked every day, unseen, unnoticed. "You won't lose your job," he said. "You'll be getting a new one." She blinked. "Sir, I'm just—" "You're honest," he interrupted. "And that's rare. You watched everything and still chose integrity. That's the kind of person I want beside me." Tears streamed down her face. "And your daughter," he added, smiling at the little girl. "She has better instincts than most of the so-called professionals in this building." That afternoon, he had a desk set up for Sophia beside his office. As for Leia, he made sure she was enrolled in the best school in the city. He covered her tuition, meals, supplies, and even arranged therapy to help her heal from the trauma of living in shelters. In time, people forgot the firings, the betrayals, the headlines. But Lucas never forgot the whisper that saved his company. "There's a camera in your office." Sometimes, the smallest voice speaks the loudest truth. And sometimes, the janitor's daughter becomes the hero of a billion-dollar empire. Always listen, even when the voice is small. Truth and loyalty often come from the most unexpected places. And sometimes what saves you isn't power or status, but innocence, courage, and a little girl with wide eyes, and a whisper